here we go. You notice it revs way up compared to how it is stock. It accelerates about twice as fast. What's going on, my Navi freaks? If you own a Honda Navi, you already know they're pretty sweet, but they can use a little bit more juice on the bottom. Got this brand new Honda Navi. We got about 100 miles on it. They ride really good, pretty sweet. This is going to be my first attempt, my first stab at adding some performance products to this guy to make it a little bit faster. I've got Ravino clutch, a standard clutch, some different variator rollers. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but that's the start. I'm going to start messing with the CVT stuff. I've got this product, if you guys have ever heard of it, it's called a DRAGY. It has some magnets on it, so like I can hook it up like that. It'll just stay there. And what I do is I set it up and then I just nail it. And automatically it will measure 0 to 60, 0 to 30, quarter mile, eighth mile, all these numbers, and it's super freaking accurate, like within a tenth of a second accuracy. So you're getting real world riding, and you're getting, you know, instead of dynoing it, you're actually getting real numbers on what to expect. So I'm going to pull this sucker off the lift. We're going to get a baseline of what 100% stock Navi does that's properly broken in, and then we'll have a baseline. Then we could start throwing performance products at it and see what's worth it, what's not. But let's do it. If you already own a Navi, then you already know what the speed's like. I will mention we are in Denver, Colorado, a mile above sea level, where we lose 20% of our power up here. So keep that in mind. Here's our 100% stock Navi. We just got to get a baseline of what this sucker's going to do. No modifications done, and I'm going to do the same route every time. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now that we got real world numbers to work with, our starting line, I can pull that CVT cover off. We'll probably start with some rollers, see how that does. We'll move up, we'll do the clutch. I even have a carburetor for it and a few other things up my freaking sleeve, but you're just gonna have to follow along. Let's get that cover off. You know the drill, we gotta pull the CVT cover off. There's 3 bolts here. This one, this little bitty one, and that pulls that cover off. And then back here, you've got a little spacer. So that's going to go, you know, they got the black bolt that goes back there. And the rest of them are fairly normal, except for this guy is really long. See how long that sucker is? And the rest are the same. One more. Just let that sucker hang. Here's the first look at the Honda Navi CVT. Now that is a clutch. For a 110cc, that is a giant freaking clutch. I'm not so sure we need all that. Maybe we can reduce the weight. Variator, pretty big. I noticed that this sucker comes out of here, which this is a lot like a QMB 139, which is a GY 650 setup, where you've got your starter, what do you call that, jack shaft or starter clutch, whatever you want to call it. And then unlike the QMB 139, this sucker is normally in the engine case, or the, not the engine case, but the kickstart cover. Get back in there. So that's kind of cool, because that's a big flaw in those QMB 139s, is that moves around with like the case here. So that's kind of a cool little thing. You can't really run this without the cover on it. I guess you could if you put a washer underneath here to hold that in place, but all this stuff has to stay down. But let me explain the CVT if you don't know already. When I say CVT, that consists of the clutch, the belt, and this front pulley is called the variator. We'll take it apart so you know what the heck I'm talking about. But if you notice on a motorcycle, you got the rear wheel and then you got the sprocket, you know, that the chain attaches to. And then you got the front sprocket that the chain attaches to. Normally it's covered by the engine. And then you have the chain. Just imagine this is a motorcycle. And this is the rear wheel of the motorcycle. Always you'll notice that there's a big sprocket on the rear wheel and a small sprocket up front. That's the ratio you want to have a lot of torque. If you look at stunt motorcycle guys, their sprocket on their rear wheel, we're talking about, this is a motorcycle, just envision this. They've got a really big sprocket attached to the chain that goes up. And the reason why they have that is so they can do wheelies really, really easy. Well, that's what you want for low-end torque, but for top speed, you want to do the opposite, meaning the big portions here, the small portions there. Motorcycles don't do that. But on a scooter, since you have, well, you do have gearing back here, but it doesn't change. It's kind of like a rear end on a car back here. But where I'm going with this is on a CVT transmission, the whole point of a CVT transmission, scooters back in the day, they had a chain, and that's what you get, this gear ratio. So what we wanted to do is we want the bike to start off the way it is. See, it's a small sprocket up front. Just imagine this is a chain, big sprocket on the back. The CVT is variable, so it'll start like this, and as you ride, see if I squeeze this down, then that goes up there, and then it's tighter down here. See that? If I was to rev this up, which I can't because of this, then they would shift from small up front, big in the back, to big up front, small in the back. And that is a continuously variable transmission, and that's the CVT. So that's how that works. Let's pull this. Let's just pull this all apart. I just want to look at it, and we'll see what we're going to do next. All right, this is the rear clutch pulley. What size is that? It's not a 17 like a normal GY6. I think it's a 19. I'm just taking a guess. 19, yeah. So there's two ways to do this. You can do this in impact, or you can grab a CVT holding tool and you can do it manually. But we're going to do it with this impact. Like that. Honda doesn't put any Loctite on there, but I sure am going to. This is the variator. That's such a huge nut on there. That's crazy. Maybe 21? Nope. 22. This is way too much clutch for this bike, I can tell you that. If you ever do this, you want to make sure your key is off, because you don't want it to start. You're basically kick-starting it if the key is on. So let's pull this off of here, like that. Belt comes off. If you notice, see how that pulley opens up like that? That's how it has a variable transmission. And then here's our rollers. Here, you open this sucker up, you've got rollers in here. So that's the whole variable transmission there, CVT. Here is our variator. This is the complete variator. Let me educate you on what this all is. So this is called the backing plate. These are the slides. These just kind of slide along the these little guides here. So you always want to inspect these, make sure they're not worn out or anything like that. So backing plate, slides, variator boss, variator rollers. There's 6 of them. 6 rollers. And this is the actual variator. See the ramp? See those? There's a ramp there. I'm sure you can see that. So through centrifugal force, as this spins, you've got your roller, and just like when you're on a merry-go-round and you spin that sucker, you go flying out to the edges. Well, the same thing happens with these rollers up this ramp, and that's what pushes this backing plate up. It pushes that backing plate up, and then the variator moves forward, pushing the belt up the, it'll look like this whenever it's put together, but if it moves forward, then it's going to move that belt up the variator ramp. Does that make sense? So the thing that you should know is these rollers are a certain weight stock from Honda. Remember, these Navis, they want to save gas money. They're a gas-saving bike. For us, yeah, cool to save gas, but we want this thing to be fast. We want to engage faster. So imagine you're in third gear on these suckers, and you go to take off in your car. You're going to be real boggy at the bottom, but then you're going to start taking off, and you're save a lot of gas money, but you're going to be a turd off the line. We don't want to start off in third gear. We want to start off in first gear. So what do? We see what weight these are first. That's step one. So I've got this scale. Let's put them on there. I don't know how much these weigh from the get-go. 102 grams. So what we need to do, there's 6 of them. So we'll go 102 divided by 6. 17 gram rollers in there. We want to go a lot lighter than that. What that is, I don't know, but we want to play with it. Let's start with 13 gram rollers. I think that's going to be the ticket. Now there is the debate, are rollers better than sliders? Let me show you what a slider looks like. I don't actually have one for the Navi, and this is the wrong size, but this is a slider. See that? See how it's oblong like that? And this is a roller, it's just round. A slider, now keep in mind this is the wrong size. It goes in there at an angle, and then as it spins, you got more action because you've got this piece here. It kind of flips up like that. So those are sliders, and these are rollers. So we're going to try 13 gram rollers in there. These are NCY rollers. We're just going to slap them in there real quick. We'll put it all back together, and we'll see where we're at. These are a lot lighter than the 17 grams, so it's going to scream at the bottom before it actually goes to take off. That's how that's installed. Really easy. You can take a marker and then you could scribble all the way down the variator, and as the belt rides down, it's going to erase the marker so you can see if you're getting the full travel of your belt. So there's that. Let's put this back in the bike and then let's test it. We'll put it all back together and just go lighter on the rollers, 13 gram. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to mark this pulley here as well. Just want to see how the travel works on there as well. So variator in like that, and we've got our clutch here. Sometimes these belts have an arrow on them. This one doesn't, but I'm going to have it so it reads. So I'm going to set the belt up like this, and what I'm going to do is squeeze. See how I'm squeezing the inside? And the belt goes down like that. So now I'm just holding the belt down like that. Slide this sucker down. So the idea is we don't want to tighten down on top of this belt. We want it to be pushed out when we put the variator fan back on, like that, so it's not hitting. So I'm just going to halfway put these on. Then we got the variator. This thing's heavy. This can be upgraded. This is super heavy, so we can work on that. See how I'm getting the play out? So this thing slides down. This is the fan. It's going to go on there. Then the kickstart gear. Okay. Then the washer. Then the nut. But we got 2 different nuts on there. We're going to put some Loctite on there. It didn't look like Honda did that, but we're going to do that. We'll just do some blue. Probably normally I would do red, but I'm going to have this apart pretty soon. So there is a torque setting for this. And if you're not comfortable using an impact, you definitely want to use a torque wrench. And in order to do that, you're going to have to hold these splines. Actually, you'll probably have to hold the other side with a Make sure this is on here real good. With a CVT holding tool. Okay, that's on. Okay, put the CVT cover back on. This one with the washer. Washer there. Get our bolts started. Got to bolt it down under here first. Tighten this sucker down in a cross pattern. All right, let's pull this sucker down and see what these things do. This is my DRAGY setup here. I'm going to connect it. Takes a minute. It's connecting to the satellites right now. Okay, there we go. We can take off, or we can push this little button here like this, and then we just go to take off and it'll start timing everything. So that's what we're going to do down the street. I can already tell it's doing better just riding over here. This little blinking light is the DRAGY, so let's do it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Well, that is clear as day, way better than the stock rollers. We did 13 gram rollers on that one. I think we need to test 12 grams, see what we think. I think that those are going to be the sweet spot, but let's try it. Let's do the 12 gram. I won't film it. I'm just going to put them in there, and then we'll do a whole nother run, and then after that we'll do the Rubino clutch and see how that acts. 12s, I think this is going to be the ticket. Let's do it. It felt pretty dang good over here. Oh, and by the way, whenever we get up there, if you can see it, the moon looks amazing. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So check this out. The stock, let's look at the 0 to 30. Stock, 6.9 seconds. 13 gram rollers, 6.35 seconds, 0 to 30. 12 gram rollers, 6.18, 0 to 30. And then we could look at the 8th mile. Go back, look at the 8th mile, 15.19 seconds. 13 gram rollers, 14.86 seconds. And then 12 gram, 14.68. So obviously rollers make a huge difference all the way across the board. So we're going to recommend 12 grams. We'll put those on the website. I just put the Rubino 12 gram rollers on the website for your Honda Navi. It's by far the best performance upgrade for the money. I'll put a link down in the description. So we're going to call that episode 1 of how to make a Honda Navi faster. Episode 2, we're going to try out some different clutches. I think we're really going to wake this thing up. Not to mention we haven't even dipped into the carburetor and have a few more things up my sleeve. So follow along, hit the little blue bell that's right on the side so you can get notified when new videos come out. And don't forget to do a freaking spinning bicycle kick onto the subscribe button. See you in the next video.